Welcome back to Bread and Butter, everybody, where we're serving up the basics for Hearthstone improvement. And as always, I am joined by my co-host Tito. Tito, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic, Doc. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And as part of, I don't want to say bit, but as part of a new scheduled programming here on Bread and Butter, we have Peaceful. Peaceful, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so great to be here. I'm excited I'm excited to hang out with you guys for a little bit and talk some Hearthstone and stuff. So it's gonna be cool.
Heck yeah, happy to have you. So a new thing that we're wanting to do is we're wanting to highlight up and coming content creators, and so we're starting off with Peaceful. So Peaceful, what have you been doing inside of Hearthstone?
Well, that's kind of funny. I was actually talking to Tito a little bit beforehand. My main thing with Hearthstone anymore is just Battlegrounds. I've actually always loved Battlegrounds, and it's usually what I do. Like the amount of Battlegrounds I play directly correlates to how much I like the constructed formats at the moment. So I've been playing almost strictly Battlegrounds in Hearthstone, so that should tell you how I'm feeling about all the constructed formats. But I have enjoyed Twist. I played a lot of Twist last week right after the balance patch went through and the new Twist format started, and I really have enjoyed that. That's been pretty fun. And it was good to see those discard warlocks and Jade rogues put in their place for a little bit, even though it seems like Jade rogue's still pretty good. But yeah, so Twist has been fun, standard, and wild not so much. I'm still waiting for them to really fix wild. It's like they changed all this stuff and made it better, and then Yogg came out and ruined everything. So it's like almost unplayable at this point. But
yeah, Tito, what have you been doing inside Hearthstone?
Well, I actually haven't been playing any Battlegrounds lately. Not that I don't want to, but it's just how much time you have and where you pick and choose your battles. Yeah, battles. Never mind. So I'm still climbing. I'm around D3. I've been kind of up between D5. I'm doing the D5 D1 dance. You know, where you go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. I've mostly been playing lately Arcane Secret Hunter, which has been fun, but I'm also playing bunch of different versions of Big Pally. Some of them have Earthen, some of them don't. I'm really enjoying that. And I've also been playing Chad Warlock, which has been a lot of fun. Those are mostly the decks I've been playing around, excuse me, like THL. So it kind of double duty of practicing for the THL matches, which we just finished. We're not going to make the playoffs this time around, but it was fun. I actually had my last match a couple nights ago, or was it last night? It was last night, and it was Saturday night. And I actually pulled that one out. I played Copa, and the fact that both of our teams were out of contention, we decided to meme a little bit, and we decided to not bring certain decks like Control Warrior, like anything Druid, whatever. So I ended up bringing a Big Pally that was a lot of fun. I brought Enraged Warrior, which got banned. I mean, I know there's a top tier deck, but that wasn't one of the ones that we had decided not to. But I actually won with the Momentum Demon Hunter within game 5, which
nice.
It's cool. A lot of fun. It's not good. In fact, all my matchup spreads into their decks was like 22%. But I got lucky. We played well, so it was a lot of fun. I did play a little bit of Wild. I played some Shudderwalk Shaman to Highlander Shudderwalk Shaman, mostly to just clear some quests. I had 2 Shaman quests. I didn't want to play that in standard because I wanted to continue I didn't want to drop even further than I have. And I've seen nothing. I believe every game I saw was up against a Secret Rogue. So apparently Secret Rogue is the new hotness in the meta or something, but
Miracle Rogue?
It was
Miracle Rogue's the deck that I've seen a lot.
It was pure Secret Rogue. Yeah.
Oh. Weird.
Yep. I mean, I think in all the games, Hanar came down on turn 2 and they did those things. But
no, I was gonna say the big deck I've seen in a while is this Miracle Rogue nonsense with Edwin and Arcane Giants, and then you bounce your Arcane Giants with that spell from Festival that makes it an 8/8 when you bounce it, and then you play it again, and then you play Breakdance. There you go. And then you play Yogg for 0, and then you bounce Yogg, and you get a 7/5 from Breakdance, and then your opponent leaves the game.
That sounds fun, actually, but probably not fun to play against.
It's very fun to play. It's horrible to play against. It's miserable.
And I'm almost I think I'm 2 wins off of 3,000 with Hunter, and I think I'm about 14 wins off of 1,000 for Demon Hunter. So I want to finish getting those close up. But Doc, what have you been up to in Hearthstone?
Yeah, so not playing Wild, thank goodness. That sounds amazing. Played my THL match, went 2-3, had 2 really big turns on game 2 and game 5 where I feel like I could have made a better decision. But it was fun. I mean, it was the best I've played all season, so I'll take what I can get. And playing with significantly better players than that I would face on the ladder. But I've been mostly playing some BGs. I'm at like 5.3k right now. The last game I played, I had the I don't want to say choose your champion, but it was the anomaly where you discover a tier 6 minion and then you get that in your opening hand. And I went undead with Greybow, and I got the I forget, Sister Death Whisper, something like that. The one that gives
yeah, it's a good one.
Yep. Got her with Greybow and had 2 micro mummies in my shop. And so that kind of just carried me just straight on into top 2. And then I lost to another undead build. There was like 4 people going undead that game. It was very much contested, but everyone who was in the top 4 was playing undead.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Haven't really been playing a lot of Constructed Standard, and I'll for sure get my card back this month. But with me moving at the end of the month, I don't think I'll try to get into like Diamond or whatever this month, just because I don't have the time because I need to be packing and organizing stuff.
That's understandable.
Yeah,
so that's what I've been doing inside Hearthstone. Peaceful.
Before you get to that, I had a question on Battlegrounds. Does it seem to the rest of you guys, like, does it seem like people are climbing slower in the Anomalies era on their MMR versus the last iteration we just had, which was, what was it? It was Quest back again, right? Or whatever it was last time.
Yeah.
I seem like a lot of streamers and stuff, not necessarily the high end streamers, they're always going to be 13K or whatever, but I've seen a lot of streamers that I watch that usually are around 6.5, 7K. They're still not at 6K yet or getting close. Has it been harder this time around to be more consistent?
So for me, absolutely. So my big issue with the anomalies, and I mean, it kind of ties into my feelings in Hearthstone in general. It's so snowbally and it's so RNG based, where so many of the anomalies reward you for having good early shops, which is something you just have no control over. And I've just had a hard time figuring out how to survive those games long enough for it to matter what I do. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like there's more non-games of Battlegrounds now than there used to be, and it got a little better when they changed the damage cap to last until top 4. That did help a little bit, but even still, there's some games where you just like, I don't know, you get to turn 3 and you look at your opponent's board compared to yours, and you're like, oh, well, I lose the game. Like, that's just the way it is. It's, you know,
Yeah.
I do think it's harder to climb, and I think a lot of it's just because there's so much more variance because of the anomalies. I mean, you have like those wild ones where it's like your gold triples every turn, but your board disappears, and it's just hard. Like, sometimes some people hit elementals and Nomi in that lobby, and you hit nothing, and then they just kill you over the span of 2 or 3 turns. And I don't know. I've been kind of hard stuck right at 6K. I got the 6K, so I hit that, threshold, so I can't drop below it, but I haven't really been able to get far above it either. And I mean, I've been an 11, 12K Battlegrounds player before, so yeah, it's been a little frustrating.
Yeah, and I can essentially echo your sentiments there with my experience. I'm not like an 11, 12K player. I'm like a 6.65 on average. But it's taken me way longer than I'm used to hit 5.3K, or even it took me so long to hit 5K. Like, it just didn't. It was just hard. Like, some of the anomalies are very spiky, and if you don't get to spike, well, then it's just GG next, and you just kind of do that. And so you kind of have to figure if you want to play for first or play for fourth to hopefully get the little points of MMR here and there. And so that's what I had to transition towards, was not worrying about getting first at all, but just trying to not be one of the first 4 people to die.
Survive.
Yeah, just trying to survive. Like, that's the objective. But yeah, like, I mean, it's still fun. It's just, it's a slower climb for me personally. And I feel like that might be a similar feeling for a lot of other people. But It's still enjoyable. Anomalies are fun. They just make you stretch your brain for the game in different ways.
Yeah, there's one of those things where a lot of the anomalies are so cool and so interesting, but the problem is part of what makes them interesting is how powerful they are. Like the double your first buy each turn, or your first minion you buy each turn is free, and it's just like those make your first few shops so important that it just feels sometimes like you don't really get to play, and it is frustrating. But the games where you're the one who hits the nuts, it's like the most fun I've ever had playing Battlegrounds. So it's this weird, like, I'll play like 3 games in a row and I'm like, this is the best, variation of Battlegrounds they've ever done. And then I'll play like another 3 games in a row. I'm like, this is the worst thing ever. I hate it. I'm never playing a game of Battlegrounds again. And it's just like this, it's just this very back and forth. So it's a little stressful.
Yeah. So I'm going to transition into going outside the game because I want to bring that, but with this conversation. So outside the game, I've been playing a lot of Teamfight Tactics. For those of you that don't know, for the last like 2 seasons, they've had essentially anomalies at the beginning of the game. But every player in the lobby can vote for which one they want to have a chance to be the anomaly of the entire game. And so you get 3 options. Cool. Yeah. So I think it would be cool if somehow they found the bandwidth within Hearthstone to make that an option, like have everyone discover the same 3 anomalies at the beginning of the game, and whichever one got the most votes is the anomaly that is the anomaly for the game. So would give like more agency, and you could pick your hero and have it be before hero selection. So you pick the anomaly, you get your heroes or whatever. I don't know if that's possible. I just think it would be fun because it would make it a little bit different. I've also been playing a lot of Valorant recently. Fun shooter game. I'm not great at it. My being great at FPS games days are long since behind me. But it's still fun. It's just League of Legends with guns, basically, because every operator has different abilities. Super fun. CSGO has been a lot of fun, too. I'm even worse at that. But yeah. Peaceful, what have you been doing outside Hearthstone?
Okay, so well, Tito knows this already, but I've been streaming and playing and making content for Marvel Snap quite a bit. I've been obsessed with that game basically since it came out about a year ago. Actually, I think it'll be a year in like a couple weeks, and that's been doing really well for me. But as far as like outside of that, I haven't had a ton of free time, so I haven't played a ton of games. I've been watching Asoka.
Oh,
that is like my favorite Star Wars show of all time.
Yes.
Probably my favorite Star Wars media of all time. I mean, I'm a sucker I was like obsessed with Rebels, the animated show that a lot of the characters come from. And I just thought they did such an amazing job transitioning it all to the big screen. I thought the story was amazing. Without getting into any spoilers, some of the episodes where they focused on certain characters from the past were just like very emotionally well done, very like aesthetically well done. Just the story was super interesting and super a lot of just really cool elements from like the more mystical side of Star Wars that they've never really done in live action before got kind of tugged in, and it was just a blast. And other than that, like really I haven't had a ton of free time outside of Snap and Hearthstone. So I just wanted to go ahead and throw out a shout out to anybody who likes Star Wars. You should watch Ahsoka. It's amazing.
Yeah,
no, you don't have to watch Rebels before, but it does help.
It certainly does. I didn't watch Rebels before or Clone Wars. The new Clone Wars. I watched Clone Wars back when it was 2D animated, like 3-minute long episodes in between shows on Cartoon Network. Yeah. So that was my Clone Wars. I wish I would have watched the newer Clone Wars and Rebels to understand the backstory of things in Ahsoka. But one of my coworkers, he's a big Star Wars nerd, and so him and I we each watched Stupendous Wave, and so he's a big Star Wars YouTuber for like lore and stuff. And so I've got to talk with him, my coworker, a bunch about it. And yeah, Ahsoka's amazing. Definitely, if you like Star Wars, you need to watch it if you haven't. But Peaceful, I have a question for you. How'd you like Andor? Because to me, Andor is my favorite Star Wars media.
So Andor is probably my second favorite. So I have no arguments there. If you prefer it, it's definitely like a little bit more serious of a tone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt like Ahsoka was more in line with the tone of most Star Wars, but like kind of took it into different areas. But I mean, Andor and Rogue One, I think were just like Rogue One to me. I mean, I'm going to get myself in trouble with a lot of Star Wars people, but The Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie. But other than that, I thought the sequel trilogy was pretty bad. So I think Rogue One, for what it's worth, is like one of the best movies they've done. Definitely one of the best they've done at the Disney era, and or like building off of that, and just I want them to do more stuff like that, I guess is what I would say. I want more adult themed, like more, you know, really like suspenseful, really, but really like deep story wise. Like there was a lot of like layers to that show that if you like really dive into were really, really interesting and really well thought out. Whereas most Star Wars, like let's be real, like I love The Mandalorian, but it's very surface level.
Yep.
It's like put it on with the kids, watch it. It's really entertaining. It's got these funny parts. It's got the cute little baby Yoda, but there's not a lot of depth to it. Whereas Andor is like the exact opposite. And I felt like Ahsoka was kind of that perfect medium for me, where I've watched it 3 times, but believe it or not, because my kids love it and I don't tell them, but I couldn't wait till I could be with them to watch it.
Yeah.
I would watch it Tuesday night when it came out and then watch it again Wednesday. And then my younger one decided after watching a couple episodes, she wanted to watch all of them too. So we watched it again. So I've watched it 3 times all the way through. And I just feel like Andor is like super serious, like almost like spy thriller style Star Wars. Then you got Ahsoka, which is right here in the middle. It's got that lightheartedness, that like humor to it that a lot of Star Wars has, but it's also got that deeper layer. And then you've got like Mandalorian and all the other Disney era Star Wars stuff. So Andor is great.
So my biggest reason for liking Andor, not that I have anything against Jedi or Sith, but it was, we got to see the world of Star Wars from like a normal people perspective. There was no space witch, space warlock stuff going on, no space magic. It was just people and insurmountable odds. Like it just so good. And I'm excited to see what Dave Filoni has down the pipeline, because the movie, is it 1 or 2 movies he's going to do to wrap up everything?
I think they've said it. I thought that they said it was just 1, but there's so many plot points that I think it's so difficult.
It'll be a trilogy
to wrap it up in just 1. But I'm voting for a trilogy, and like Dave Filoni can do whatever he wants as long as it's Star Wars, and I'll watch it.
Tito, have you finished Ahsoka?
I have, and I've been in the middle of rewatching the Clone Wars because I wanted to start back, and I started doing this before Ahsoka came out, but I wanted to get back to like, hey, when did Ahsoka go from 1 blade to 2, and how did that happen? I don't remember that so much, and I want to the things like that.
Oh, I can tell you.
No. I mean, I just don't remember. I watched it all, but it's been a while, and I want to rewatch Rebels. Yeah. I actually think I like the Mandalorian. I think I even liked Obi-Wan better than Ahsoka, but that doesn't mean I didn't love it. I had problems with the prequels. I had problems with the postquels, whatever you call those. But overall, I love them. I love that. Like, keep giving me more Star Wars. It's the same thing with Marvel. People were like, "Oh, the Secret War, this Secret Invasion, whatever it's called, like the one that just came out. Like that wasn't that great." Blah, blah. Like, yeah, it was fine. It was good. Keep giving me more.
Oh, it was fine.
Yeah. Like
the only episode of that show I had any issue with was the very last one. It was a little over the top.
Like,
but the rest of it I thought was actually really fun.
I mean, every time like they complained about the Winter Soldier one, or not the Winter Soldier, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I really like that one too. And they had to make some major changes because the entire story that was supposed to be about a like plague or something like that was released, and then COVID-19 was released, and they had to like, well, we don't want to mirror that.
Yeah.
So they definitely made some changes there, but like even when something is just okay, if they keep giving me more Star Wars and keep giving me more Marvel, I'm thrilled. And keep it coming. I can't wait to see the Marvels. I know it's getting a lot of bad hype, but it looks like
too.
Hey, what if we did Freaky Friday in the Marvel universe? And I'm here for it. But aside from that, I've been watching Ted Lasso. I realized last week that I had Apple Plus for a while, or Apple TV, whatever it's called, because I had gotten it free with my phone, and I don't know how long I have it left for. I said, I better watch Ted Lasso. I started watching it, I think, last Wednesday, and I just finished the series yesterday. I watched 3 seasons, and like, it is that good. It is like everything you've heard about it being good is better than that. It is a lot of fun. It is emotional at times. I was a little dusty in the old Tito house a couple times during the show's run there. I'm not sure why. I try to keep it clean, but I definitely recommend watching it. But Doc, we've already got to know our guest a little bit, but I think our listeners want to hear a little bit more. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. So Peaceful. So your name actually, I'm calling you Peaceful. I'm sorry. It's PeacefulSea.
No, that's what people call me. That's totally fine.
Okay. I get it because
Yeah.
my name's Doc McBunn. Everyone just calls me Doc. So where did your name come from?
So the name Peaceful Sea, that is kind of a funny story. Was my original Twitch name. So like I just didn't change it when I became a streamer. And the where I had originally got it from was this song. So the lyric from the song, it's a song called January 1979 by a band called Me Without You. And the song lyric is I was floating in a peaceful sea rescued by a sinking ship. And it's always been like possibly like my favorite line from any song I've ever heard because it just means so many different things that really have impacted me on a personal level. Like I've always been the person that struggled with stepping outside my comfort zone and like stepping into the unknown and not and doing the things that, well, I don't know how this is going to work out and I don't know if I can do this. And like that fear of failure has always held me back. And to me, that's always like the main purpose of that line is, you're in a peaceful sea, right? So you're in this place where you don't know where you're going or how to get where, but it's peaceful. There's nothing harming you, but there's a ship here that's offering to save you, but the ship is sinking, the ship's not going anywhere, and you're like, I don't know. So that it always just struck a really powerful chord with me on a personal level. So I made it my Twitch name. And then when I decided to start streaming, I spent like weeks like doing the thing I just talked about. I'm like, well, how am I ever going to do this? I can't even come up with a name. And then I just looked at my Twitch account one day and I was like, well, you already have a name and you liked the name when you made it, so what's wrong with that? So it was kind of like that last thing holding me up from actually trying to become a streamer. So I was like, you know what? I like my name. It's cool. And honestly, people have, like a lot of people have told me how like they really like my name. It has like a cool vibe to it. It's got a cool feel to it, and it doubles as like everyone wants to have that like catchphrase for their stream. Like, what do you call your chat? Like, what do they call it? And for me, it was easy. I'm like, they're in the peaceful sea. Welcome to the peaceful sea. I get to say that whenever someone follows, which made it really easy for me because I'm not good at coming up with that sort of stuff. But that's the long story of how I got my name.
Nice. That's a great story. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
So this one's kind of a two-parter. One, what got you started in video games? So like, what's the first video game you remember playing? And two, how did you find Hearthstone?
Oh my gosh. So my first like very early memories of video games, we going to my grandma's house in New York, and she had an original Nintendo, and she had Duck Hunt, she had Ninja Turtles 2, and she had well actually I'm sorry, she had the Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt. Gotta say it right because it wasn't. Then she had Ninja Turtles 2, and then she had Super Mario Brothers 3. And every time we went up there, that's what me and my brothers were doing. We didn't want to do anything else. We would go into the room in the back of the house where the TV with the Nintendo was set up. We'd blow into the cartridges until we got it to work, and we'd play Super
Yep.
Mario Brothers 3. That was our favorite, and then we played Ninja Turtles 2. And it was so funny. Like I always tell people because people are like, that game's impossible. Ninja Turtles 2, no one can beat that. I'm like, dude, we beat that all the time, but it's because we didn't have any other options. If we wanted to play Ninja Turtles, we had to play this ridiculously impossible game. So that was how I first found video games. And ever since then, I mean, I was hooked. I'm still to this day, other than Hearthstone and Snap and some of the games I play on my computer, I'm a Nintendo person. I've literally never owned a gaming system other than my PC that wasn't Nintendo. I've owned every Nintendo system that's come out since the N64. And I've just always been in love with Zelda, been in love with Mario, been in love with that sort of game. I would play like when I was in high school, I had a lot of friends who had Xbox and PlayStation 2, and I played a lot of Halo. I was actually really good at Halo. Um, the first time I became truly obsessed with a game to like the point where like that's all I did was Metroid Prime for GameCube.
Ooh,
Still to this day,
good one.
probably my overall favorite game. The remaster just came out for Switch. I bought it like the second it released, and I beat it within like a couple days. It's just to me that's the perfect game. And then after that, it was Melee, Super Smash Brothers Melee. I was legitimately like I don't know. I was like, you see those crazy videos of tournament players doing all those weird moves that aren't supposed to be in the game. That's me. That was me for a good solid 2 years, right up until I was in college. And then after that, I was really into music. I was in a band for a little bit, and gaming kind of took a backseat for a little bit. And then I got really into Magic. So we're gonna go and segue into the Hearthstone part of this conversation. I got really into Magic the Gathering, not the digital form, but the actual card game. And I've never been as obsessed with anything in my life. I love Magic. I love the way it played. I love the lore. I would go to Star City Games, which is this place here in Roanoke that a lot of people actually who maybe out there have played Magic, you've probably heard of them. because up until just a couple years ago when COVID hit, they were one of the biggest resellers of Magic cards and Pokemon cards. I think they still do. Still think they're one of the biggest ones. So you could go to StarCityGames.com and buy Magic cards, but we went to the actual shop where they were housed and where that they sold their cards out of, and we would buy packs and packs and cards and build decks, and I was obsessed with that for a long time. Well, then I had my first daughter, and it was a little unexpected. It wasn't planned, and that just cut into my spending budget. And if you know anything about Magic,
Yeah.
it is probably the most expensive game you could ever play. Like a tournament level deck usually costs between $500 and $600 at that time. Now I know it's more. So I was like, well, that's not going to work anymore. Sold my Magic cards off. And as I was doing that, and I was kind of hanging out with some friends, my best friend was like, dude, you love Magic. Have you tried Hearthstone? And this was right between Whispers of the Old Gods and Mean Streets of Gadgetzan. I don't remember what exactly was the very last set that had come out before I started, but I started like in the middle of that summer before Mean Streets of Gadgetzan came out that fall. And I was immediately hooked because it was like Magic, but simpler. And like the UI was beautiful. I remember just thinking the game looked so cool and was so easy to play. And from that point on, again, I was hooked. Within, I want to say probably a year, I was like a top 10 wild player. Every month, I was the only person in Top Legend Wild who played Malagos Druid, which at the time was so much more fair than it is now. Oh my gosh, like the combo decks in Wild now are so crazy. But back then, it was like you played, Spreading Plague to stall, and then you played an Alexstrasza to set them to 15, and then you played your Alviana Kun combo to which is back in Twist now, which was really cool for me. And I was just obsessed. Like I've always been a Druid main. If you look at my Hearthstone classes, I think Druid has like over 4,000 wins or something like that. No one else has more than 2,000. I've always been in love with that. In Magic, it was the same way. I love the ramp style, combo style of decks, and it just hooked me. It hooked me really hard. And then I had another kid. Became a manager at my old job, and I kind of switched over to Battlegrounds because it was easier to keep up with for a while. And then once I left that job, I just got back into Constructed again. And that's Constructed has always been my calling. Like I much more enjoy that style of like building the deck and putting stuff together. And there's just something about that. That's why I love Marvel Snap too. That deck building itch. Like I just love that. Like being able to tweak your decks and build your decks and like find the perfect combination of cards to really, make the deck that feels the best to you, and how it's so flexible depending on the person who's playing. It's always been what's fascinated me with card games in general. I even love like when it comes to board games, I love playing deck building games as well. Like there's just something about that scratches the perfect itch for my brain. I love it.
Heck yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's incredible journey of starting with one of the hardest video games ever, being Ninja Turtles.
God, all of them were ridiculous for the Nintendo.
Yeah. So you are recently started a podcast.
Yep.
Would you want to tell us what your podcast is called and kind of dive into that a little bit?
Sure. So the podcast is called Windows Down, Volume Up. We actually just decided on a name like 3 months after we started it because we couldn't figure out a name we wanted. But it's unrelated to anything else that I do streaming wise. So if anybody who comes out and hangs out in my stream, that I love music. I have like a 5.5 day long playlist that I rotate on stream that we just listen through. It's set up so people can request certain songs, and it's just been a huge part of my life. Like I mentioned when I was talking about video games, like I was in a band for a good period of my life. It's just been something I've always been in love with, and it's emotionally like this is not an exaggeration. There were times in my life where without music and without certain bands and the way they made me feel, like I would probably not be here anymore because like many people, I went through a time in my life that was very difficult, and I wasn't always the happiest with myself, and music is what kept me going a lot of times. So one of the things I approached a couple of my streaming friends about was, why don't we do a podcast where we just talk about that music from early in our lives, talk about how it impacted us and how it because there's still bands that I listened to in high school and then outside of high school that to this day, whenever I listen to them, I still get that emotional connection to how it made me feel, how going to their shows made me feel. So basically what we do is each week we go through a different album. It's usually one from like the late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere in that range when we were the three of us who were in the podcast. It's me, my friend Left the Fray, and Out Rumbleback. There are two other smaller streamers. And we just pick an album that really connects with us, really resonated with us, but also that we feel, like musically had a real impact on the music scene as a whole. And just talk through it. We listen through it as we're doing the podcast. We have it playing in the background, and we just talk through, what we think is so amazing about that album, what emotionally or like what memories we have connected to it, that sort of thing. It's a lot of fun. We're trying to get on a more regular schedule. It's hard because all three of us have very busy lives outside of it, and two of us have three kids and a lot going on. So it's usually on Saturdays, but it's we got one actually coming up this week. I'm actually really excited about.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely start throwing you guys into my podcast rotation.
What Doc wants to know is when is the first time you do a Dury album?
Oh, which one?
So he's just
Who
poking
did you
at me
say?
because my favorite band right now is this band from Minnesota called Dury. Their brother sister band who blew up over at the start of the pandemic through TikTok. And I think they're fun. They're like nostalgia like pop rock, I guess, is like the closest thing I could pinpoint. But
Okay.
Dano of Squelch fame, it lives in Minnesota and has seen them live a couple times. They're a fun band,
That's
so like
cool.
they're worth checking out. It's just Durry. Yeah.
Durry. I will check them out. If there's anything I can say is like I do have specific tastes that I like more, but I'll listen to anything. I love anything as long as the
Yeah,
music's
they
good.
just released their first official album.
So cool.
Because everything else was like, oh, this chorus that I wrote blew up on TikTok. Let's finish the song and record it really quick and put it on Spotify. And so their earlier recordings didn't have like the kind of quality that they wanted. And so now they released this album, and all of their older songs that got put onto the album got all the love and justice that the songs deserved, which is pretty cool. So my next question for you. So you just got accepted in the Snap content creator program. How cool is that?
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So yeah, it was not something I expected to actually get. I had seen another streamer that I knew was doing Snap content had posted saying, "Hey, I just applied to this. Wish me luck." And I was like, "Well, let me go check and see what the requirements were." And don't tell them. I mean, I'm sure they probably know. But at the time I sent in my application, I was just short on a couple of them. The only one I was meeting was my Twitch follower count. I was just short on the Twitter one, and I was very, very short on the YouTube one. I was like, well, by the time they actually look at it, because everyone had been saying it took them a few months to really get to it. It's like by the time they get to mine, I'm sure I'll have it. Well, not a week later, my Twitter passed the threshold, and within a couple days of that, I got an email from them like, hey, you're accepted, and it was really cool. It's been really, really nice. The Snap community is, well, I mean, just like you all know Hearthstone, like most of the Snap team is people from Hearthstone who have left over the years. A lot of them left to go on to and be on the second dinner team and make Marvel Snap. And they're all just super friendly, super easy to talk to, and they're super helpful. Like I've gotten to talk to a bunch of the different people on the actual Snap team. We get all sorts of cool perks. Like they send us the patch notes early, so if we want to make content on it, we can get some content ready to go live when the patch goes live instead of having to wait till after it comes out, which I know Hearthstone does as well for the Hearthstone content creators. It's just a lot of it's really cool to be a part of like that sort of community, because a lot of the creators in there are just as passionate as, just as passionate as I am about the game, just as passionate as I am about streaming and gaming and content creation in general. And they also are, not just the second dinner team, the other content creators are more than happy to help when you have questions. We do a lot of collabs. Like I just got added to it's called the WSF, the World Snap Federation. It's like a really fun tournament thing that these group of guys do, where it's like it's kind of themed after pro wrestling, where we all have our personas that we go into for the event, and it's just really fun. So it's been a really cool journey for me. It's been very validating as well, just to finally be like, hey, you've been working so hard at this content creation thing. Here, this is a sign that you're going in the right direction. So it's been really cool.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. It's really cool.
Oh yeah.
So you're on Hype Horizon with Tito, and you're the captain of Hype Horizon's Battlegrounds team. Do you want to dive into how that became something that you were doing?
Well, Tito could tell you how that became a thing. So, Hype Horizon was something that Tito actually invited me originally to, and he had started like coming into my streams and hanging out a little bit and talking to me, and he messaged me about it and was like, "You should be on this." And as I mentioned before, I've struggled at times in my life with like self-esteem, self-worth, that sort of thing, and it's something that I've battled constantly as a creator because that's just the nature of me. I'm very hard on myself. I'm always working towards. So when he asked me about being on like an actual stream team, I was like, well, surely he doesn't mean me. He must have looked at the wrong stream or something, or forgot which person he was talking to. But he was very persistent. He kept asking me. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'm on board. And kind of did a little bit of research, saw that what seemed to be their ethos and their mission and what they were all about lined up just with what I want to be, just all positivity, supportive, help each other out. And so I joined and honestly, I have not had a single regret. It's been really nice. Everybody in the group is super, super good people. Tito is a perfect example. He drives everybody. He helps everybody. He's always willing to do whatever needs to be done. And so the Battlegrounds team thing was kind of fun because it came around sort of by accident where they needed a fill-in one night for a game. And I was like, well, sure, I'll play. I mean, I'm pretty good at Battlegrounds. I'll play. And I joined in, and like I did it 2 weeks in a row. I just was filling in. And both weeks I filled in, I got first place in at least one of the games and was MVP for our team. And Tito was like, why aren't you on the Battlegrounds team? I was like, okay, sure. I'll be on the Battlegrounds team. That sounds fun. And then, Tito's got so many responsibilities when he asked me about captaining the Battlegrounds team, I was happy to help because I know he's got a lot of other stuff on his plate as far as hype goes and as far as streaming goes and podcasts go. He's a busy guy, plus, having his own things going on in his personal life. So I was happy to do it. And it's been a lot of fun. We've improved a lot as things have gone on. The team has gotten really tight. I think I'm actually really excited to see how we do this next season. I think we could surprise some people. We could snag some games, maybe get a little bit farther in the playoffs this time. It'd be sweet.
Yeah, and it wasn't just that I have a lot to do. It's I liked being the captain of the Battlegrounds team, but it's more that I was at that time now, once we picked up, so we have Colonel Mustard, Connor, Arizona, and you and Judge. We've had Judge on the show before too. And as I've been recruiting better players than me, which is what we wanted to, I kind of phased myself out, as it were. So my content creation time is between a certain time, 9 and 12 Eastern time. And when we were trying to match up with people, some people in other countries, it's hard to get those aligned. So I know that Peace has a little bit more flexibility at times, although it ended up at times not being so flexible with how the other teams were. But I didn't want to pigeonhole a team. No, you're fine. I just didn't want to pigeonhole a team into my time to play when I probably wasn't even, playing at that time, because we wanted to put, the best team out there that we could. And, that's it.
Yeah.
But anyway, Doc, I think that was a lot of information, and it was a nice appetizer, but I think I'm hungry for the main course.
Yeah,
what do you
main
think?
course sounds good to me.
So we're here.
We're
here to talk to Peaceful about content creation. I figured that's a good topic for our first guest about content creation. So one of the things that you'll hear from Peaceful if you go follow a stream, and you should, is that you want to turn this into a full-time job. So why do you want to take this hobby that's fun and turn it into a full-time job?
So we're talking about podcasts. I'm on a podcast. The types of podcasts I really like listening to are, like, I want to say motivational, but ones that kind of talk about like ways to like better ways of looking at things and like self-growth and that sort of thing. And one of those podcasts I was listening to a few years back, one of the things he was talking about was, because he was a content creator as well. Obviously, he has a podcast, but he also runs like a business where basically his business is self-growth, where people come to him and work with him. And he's talking about why, because people ask him like, well, why do you do that? It sounds like a lot of work. You're basically having to get on a phone and coach people constantly about things. And he was talking about, he's like, one of the things that I always tell people is, he's like, find a job that doesn't feel like a job. He's like, because when I am working, and he did it in quotes. He's like, when I am working and when I am helping people, coaching people, teaching people how to be better and how to improve their own, like mindset and things like that. He's like, that doesn't feel like work to me. He's like, because I love helping people. He's like, I love doing that. It's like, he's like, he compared it. He's like, some people just love working on cars. He's like, that's my big hobby. He's like, so when I'm working on a car, some people would think of that as work. He's like, but I can go and mess around with the motor in my car for 4 hours and it feels like 10 minutes because I love doing it. He's like, find something that you can do to where you do it for 10 hours and it feels like 10 minutes because you just love it so much. And so I went on a kind of a journey. So I went through some stuff in my personal life. I separated from my wife, and we just started kind of like, I was like, I kind of sort of asked myself at that point, I was like, well, what do I want? Like, what am I doing? Like, because for so long I'd done jobs that were jobs, but they made good money. They supported my family. They supported my kids. And I still work, I still have a job. But what I wanted was to find something that I could do that at some point could become something like that, something that long term, when I'm doing this in 10 years and I'm doing this full time, it's not going to feel like work because I just enjoy all parts of it so much. And I didn't know that content creation was going to be that thing until I started it. But it is something I'd always wanted to do because I've always loved teaching people, explaining people, and showing people. So like how to do things and how to get better and how to improve. That's one of the things where I did like coaching kind of on the side before I even started streaming, where I would like go and like help people with Hearthstone and like how do you get to legend and that sort of stuff. And I still do it from time to time. And I realized after a few months of streaming, I was like, I love this. I love like meeting people this way. I love having people come into my streams and ask me for help. I love every part of it. And I just was like, well, this is the time. I was like, I have this opportunity where I'm going through a shift in my life, and I can either, continue doing these jobs that I hate, which if anyone from work is watching or hears this, sorry, but I work my job because I need a job and because it pays well and because it has good benefits. I don't work my job because I have a passion for making sure people get their packages on time. Like, that's not why I work my job. It's a job. And I wanted something that I long term could give me that feeling of I'm working, but I'm happy to do it because I didn't want to be someone who spent 40 years of their life doing something just because they needed to make money. Yeah.
So, did you how did you start streaming? How did that happen? Did you start it because you wanted to go down this road after you heard that podcast, or were you already streaming when that happened? How did this get rolling?
So it was shortly after I had moved out. I was living with a friend, and I kind of talked to him. I was like, because we had worked together at another job, one of my jobs, and I kind of was like, just man, I'm so tired of just doing jobs just to do jobs. And I was like, I need to find something to do outside of work that I enjoy. And it was at the time, it was strictly just a hobby. It was something I wanted to try. I knew it was something that people can make a career off of, but I'd also done enough research to know that making a career out of content creation is not easy. It is, to get to the point where you're making a living wage, it takes a lot of work. So I knew going in, I was like, well, I don't want to commit to that until I know that I actually like it. So I started streaming, and the first time I streamed, it was November 2021. It was, I want to say November 4th, 2021. So I'm almost coming up on my 2 year. And I
Yes.
played Hades. I don't know if y'all have ever played Hades. Probably like my second favorite game. I was talking about how Metroid Prime is my favorite game. Yeah, Hades is my second favorite game, and I've sunk, no joke, probably like 500 or 600 hours into Hades. And I was here. I was streaming at a PC that my buddy was letting me borrow because I was still waiting on my PC to come in that I'd ordered. And he was like, "Well, dude, just set it up and run the stream thing and see how it goes and see if you like it." So I did, and I streamed Hades for 2 or 3 hours, and it was literally just me and like my camera on the screen and then Hades. That was it. And there was no overlays, there was no nothing. It was just me. And just having people come in asking, questions about the game, asking me what my favorite this and that was. And I was just like, I just felt exhilarated. You know how you just like the more I did it, the more energized I felt. And once that happened, and then I realized how much I actually enjoyed it, it just kind of snowballed from there. The first, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 months, I was really just doing it to see how well I could do. And once I realized that if I really put my mind to it, I could do well, that's when it started to transform into that. Okay, well, I'm going to start working towards making this a full-time thing.
Now with Hades, what's your highest heat? And did you try to push heat or did you try to push time?
I did both. So I actually was pushing heat when I did the first stream. And then I had a couple people come in there and be like, "Well, have you ever tried a speed run?" And they literally taught me the run, like the builds and stuff you look for to do a speed run, and like what the fastest builds are and the fastest DPS that you can get with like certain builds. And it was really cool. But my preferred method has always been heat runs, because I love upping that challenge. I actually did back before, when I was still mostly a variety streamer, but I mostly streamed Battlegrounds. I did a lot of Hades, and my favorite thing to do was I had this thing called the Wheel of Chaos, where like each time somebody subbed, or each time somebody followed, or each time like a new person came in and chatted, we'd spin the Wheel of Chaos, and it would like add a random like difficulty setting to it. So like the next time I started a run, I'd have to do this heat setting. And then another one was like, oh well, the next boon you choose is random. So like I wouldn't actually get to pick what I got. I just had to take whatever, we would just roll it. And it was like whatever out of the three got picked, that's what I had to take. And it was like all these little cool little, so that was my favorite way to play it on stream, because it really engaged the viewer. Like it kind of let them join in on the fun. But I've always loved heat runs, man. I still have, it's funny, I'm looking at my browser right now. I still have my Hades Pact of Punishment randomizer as one of my bookmarks. It's really cool. You go in there, you put how much heat you want, and you click the button, and it randomizes your pact of punishments that you put in, and it's really fun. As far as if you ever wanted to stream Hades, it's a fun way to do it.
Fantastic. And if you don't know anything about Hades and want to know more about it, you can message us on Twitter. We'll gladly talk about it, or listen to the Hidden Aspects podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is one that Hat did. And I'm sure that'll be reactivated for Hades too. But I'm very excited about that as well.
Oh, yeah.
So this next question.
Oh, yeah. I'm on the waiting list.
This next question is a little bit in depth. You stream multiple games. You do YouTube, you do a podcast, you try to diversify your content. How hard is that, and how important is that, and what are the benefits of that?
So that's a really good question, and it's a really complicated one to answer as well. So I'll do my best to kind of answer all those different parts. So you talking about multiple things. Diversifying your content is really good to a certain extent, because it introduces you to new audiences, right? So something like the podcast, when I go live with the podcast, every once in a while somebody will pop in there and I've never seen them, and I'll only see them for the podcast, but they really like the music podcast, they like that content. And then there's also like some of my Hearthstone people like music, some of my Marvel Snap people really like the music I listen to. So some of each of those groups shows up to my podcast, but they don't always show up to my Hearthstone streams, or they don't always show up to my Marvel Snap streams and stuff like that. So diversifying your content just gives you room for more people to sort of be interested in who you are as a person. And the goal as a content creator that I've learned is, you don't want to just be like Peaceful the Marvel Snap streamer, or Peaceful the Hearthstone streamer, or Peaceful the podcast host. You're PeacefulSea, you're the streamer. And that's what's been really cool to see, that I've really kind of hit my stride with the last couple of months, is that most of my audience now is the same people every time. And then when I play Snap, it'll be this different group of people. When I play Hearthstone, it'll be this different group of people. But there's like this core audience who honestly, they're my friends, right? They're people that I care about. They're people I've grown to know. They're people I play games with on stream. And that's the benefit of diversification. Now, there is a point, and I learned this the hard way, where diversifying too much splits your audience and makes it harder to grow. So you do sort of want to A, have a set schedule, B, make sure people know when you're going to be playing what, and C, like make sure that the audience you're growing is interested in not just what games you're playing, but you as a person. Grow that relationship, get to know people, and make it, like, care. I know that sounds weird to say, but like I think that's the main thing I've realized, is like, if I'm just myself, and I've always been a very caring, like a very genuine person, I feel like I try to be anyway. No one's perfect, but when I am that person on stream, those people will get to know me, and they want to come back, and they're going to come hang out with me no matter what I'm playing. So tomorrow, today I was doing a streamathon thing. I'm doing it all week because my kids are out of town. And for the last 4 hours, we played Pictionary, we played Words on Stream. We didn't play a single game of Snap, a single game of Hearthstone. And I had the same amount of people in there as I did when I started, because those people are honestly, they're like my stream family. They're my friends. They're people that I care about, that care about me. And we just hung out and we played games together. And it was, those 4 hours are probably the most fun I've had streaming in months. It was just really, really cool, because it was it just goes to show what happens when you take that initiative and that effort to invest in the people that are coming to your streams.
Now, how much of an overlap do you think that core group is for when when you stream Hearthstone or you stream Snap or your YouTube stuff is out there? What percentage, like a rough idea, like what percentage of that do you think is that core group? Is it like 30? Is it like 70?
I'd say it's probably closer to the 30. And the cool thing that you'll learn as you do it is the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. So the YouTube, I was at, and this is like not an exaggeration, I was at like 300 subscribers on YouTube probably a month and a half ago. Now I'm at almost 1,200. And that's just been that snowball effect of I was, investing into my audience on Twitter, I was investing into my audience on stream, and I was investing into my audience on YouTube. And the combination of those things really helped it snowball into the level that it's at now. Um, and it's different, right? So one of the things that I really encourage people is don't lock yourself into just Twitch. If you want to be a content creator, don't lock yourself into just Twitch. Don't lock yourself into just YouTube. Don't lock yourself into just TikTok. You need to find that happy balance of the things that you enjoy, but the things that will help grow your audience overall. Because if you look at my Twitch statistics over the last couple months, I'd say on a general average, it's like 30% of the people come in from my Twitch notifications, 30% come in from my Twitter notifications, 15 or 20% come in from my YouTube because I post on my YouTube what time I'm going live. And it's all those different things come together, and those people have kind of found their way to my stream that way. And it becomes, sort of habitual for them. It's like, oh, Peaceful's on. He just, I just watched his video. I want to go see what he's doing on stream right now. If he's playing that deck he put out a video for, if he's doing this. And, people will stop in on my Hearthstone streams and they're like, hey, oh, I've never played this game. How does it work? And then like I'm teaching Snap people how to play Hearthstone, and then my Hearthstone people chime in. They're like, oh, you're playing Snap. How does this game work? And I'll explain to those people how you play Snap. And it's just kind of this cool thing where those people are there for me, and that's a really good feeling on it. Like again, like I'm not good at tooting my own horn, but it's one of those things where I've learned that I do have things to offer, and I do have things that to bring to the table that people enjoy. So, I need to like lean into that instead of, trying to focus so much on just being like, oh, well, I need to be, I think there's a general, like, people feel like they have to be a certain level of good at a game to stream it. And that's just not true. I've learned that, I'm not saying I'm not good. I'm pretty good at both Hearthstone and Snap, but people don't hang out. Like I'll make stupid mistakes on stream all the time, but it's like people are there to hang out with me. They're not there to just see me win every game of Conquest or every game of on ladder or whatever it may be.
So we've talked about the fact that you want to try to make this a full-time job over, having another job and doing this on the time because it's a lot more work. How close do you feel like you are to that? And what are some of the roadblocks that you've run into in that journey?
I think I'm still a ways away, and that's something I'm very comfortable with. To be a full-time content creator, you need to have this level of comfortability that the content you put out is going to make you X, Y, Z amount of revenue so that you can afford to live, right? So right now I'm in the stage where I make more money off stream than I spend, but I'm still in that phase where I'm still growing, but it's snowballing, just like I talked about. And I know I'll be at that level when I can look at it and see that my goal is to get to the point where my paycheck from my job is extra and I don't even need it. Because that's where you really need to be, right? You need to be at the point where the money you're making off a stream is the money that you need to support yourself in your life. And I have 3 kids that I help support, and I have myself that I need to support, and I have bills just like everybody else. So I do think I'm a ways away. But one of the things I've personally noticed with content creation from other content creators is that stuff tends to snowball. People will go from averaging 30 viewers or so like me to averaging 75 to 100 to averaging 200. And it's the amount of work you put in, and it's the amount of time you're willing to put into it. So it's just, my advice to people, if they're trying to get into the full-time content creation thing, is don't look too far ahead. Have goals, have, places you want to have milestones you want to get to, but take it a step at a time and make sure you're doing it the right way. Because if you're not doing it the right way, it's not going to grow.
So we've talked about how diversifying is very important, and growing a channel and a brand is very difficult. I mean, if you talk to anybody, talk to any, you could probably talk to this guy's Toast, and he'll probably tell you that it was difficult, and it takes the work that you put in all that. Aside from diversification, is there any other things that you're doing to try to achieve that growth?
Yeah, being consistent. I think that's the main thing I've learned is consistency, especially in your content creation. So if you're trying to create content for TikTok, if you're trying to create content for YouTube, if you're trying to create content for something like that, you have to have consistency because, it snowballs. Like I keep saying that, but I promise you it does. You'll have your first couple videos and you're getting 5, 10, 20 views, and it can be really demoralizing. I'm not going to lie. I remember putting out my first few videos on YouTube and thinking, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this because my first few videos would get like 10, 15 views. And it just felt like it was this hopeless climb. But then you start learning about, SEO, which is a search engine optimization. You start learning about tags and the importance of tags. You start learning about thumbnails and, oh, I need to make sure my thumbnails, display a certain kind of message. You learn about all the way that the algorithms for YouTube and TikTok and all that stuff work. And suddenly, like it's a snowball effect. Like I have a video that hits 500 views. I remember my first video that hit 1,000. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I got 1,000 views on this video. That's crazy. And now I'm to the point where if my video doesn't get 1,000 views, I feel like, well, I look at it and I'm like, okay, well, what did I do wrong? It's like this stuff it is a constant growing process. And it's just you just need to make sure you're doing the little things right. It's like every time I notice, like when I take a shortcut because either I'm pressed for time or something along those lines where I'm like, oh, I don't have as much time for this video as I used to. I'm going to do this, and this, but I'm not going to do, whatever it may be that I normally do. And then that video doesn't perform as well. I'm like, well, I took those shortcuts. I didn't do what I needed to do. So it's just about being consistent. It's by far the most important thing. Do the same thing every time you make a video. Do the post videos around the same time, post videos on a consistent schedule, and make sure you stream a consistent schedule. And the more consistent you are, the more habitual it becomes for your viewers. They want to know, like, that's the thing is like, as much as they may like you, and I went through this for a little bit where my streams were down because I wasn't being consistent. As much as the people who come watch you may like you, if they don't know when you're going to be on and they don't know when you're going to have videos going live, they're not going to be looking for that stuff. It's kind of like I always liken it to, and some of our audience may not remember this, but old people like me and Tito will remember this, like watching like a serialized show on TV. Like I remember I knew when, Even Stevens was going to air a new episode on Disney Channel. I knew when How I Met Your Mother was going to be airing the new episode on CBS because I loved those shows, and it was a habitual thing for me. Every night I would every Thursday night or every Friday night or whatever it may be, I'd be watching whatever shows that I was interested in at the time. And your content needs to be like that as well. People need to know when they can find you. People need to know when you're going to be posting stuff, and you need to be someone they can rely on. And that's the best way I think I can describe it, is just be someone that people can rely on to be there when they want, something to watch or somebody to talk to or to hang out with.
Now, do you have milestones that you have worked out, either like in your head or that you actually have written down that you were trying to hit? And how's that going, and how important is that if you have?
Yeah, like goals, basically, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do, and some of them I've like by far surpassed, some of them I haven't. So like for example, I can tell you my goals for this year were to hit at least 5,000 followers on Twitch. Preferably, I think I had my my really high goal is like, well, I want to be at 10,000, but I wanted my mid level. I was like, I want to be at 5,000 by the time the year rolls around. I'm not anywhere near that, but my goal was for 1,000 YouTube subscribers by the end of the year, and I'm already way past that. So those are two of my goals. And then I had my average viewers, I wanted to be above 20, which I'm like hovering right there right now. I'm between, like, some days I'll have like 40 or 50. Some days it's like 10, 15. It just depends on, what I've got going on, or what's going on that day, who else is streaming. So I think goals are extremely important, and whether they're written down or whether they're just in your head, you need to have something you're aiming for. And it needs to not be something that um you're locked into, to where like if you miss it, like, so yeah, obviously I'm disappointed because I haven't hit my Twitch follower goal this year, but I see all the other things that I have hit, and that's what I look at. I'm like, well, I am growing. I'm not growing necessarily in all the areas I want to, but I'm growing, and that's the important thing, is I'm getting better. But if you don't have those goals that you're reaching for, if you don't have those things you're trying to hit, when you have that bad day, when you have that time where you're just like, I don't want to make a video today, I'm so tired, or oh, I've had all this going on, I don't want to get on and stream today, then suddenly you don't have a reason to push through that, and you don't have a reason to do the things you need to do because you don't have these goals that you're looking forward to. You don't have these things you're trying to hit. And, it's a really important part of being successful in anything you do, not just, content creation, but any goal you have in life, whether it be like, weight loss, like I have one of those right now. I have a goal. I want to get back down to a certain weight by the end of the year because I've been putting on my dad bod weight in the last year and I don't like it. I don't feel good about myself. So I set a goal for that and I've been working hard towards it and I'm seeing progress and results and it's really awesome. And goals are just important. Don't go into something like content creation without a plan and goals that you have in mind. Don't like lock yourself into them. You're not a failure if you don't hit them by the time you want to hit them, but have some goals, have something you want to achieve and give yourself a time to do it, like a timeline in which to do it. Don't just be like, well, I want to get 1,000 followers. Like, yeah, but when? Have those things so that you can have something to work towards.
And I would say don't let a caveat to that is if you're just trying to stream or make content just for the fun of it and you're just like, hey, I want to make some goofy videos or I just want to stream and play some video games and you're not really worried about that, you don't need to set goals right away. But then when you like, hey, I want to grow, I want to get more people here, then that's when you can do it. But like, don't feel like, hey, I just want to try the streaming thing out. You need to set all these kinds of goals. Just get out there, do it if you want to do it. I think if you are listening to Hearthstone podcasts, I would say at least 30% of you out there, that's a number I just picked out of my head and made up, but I would say at least 30% out there have thought about doing some kind of content and making an effort to reach out to people and to show your creativity and maybe your gameplay that you're really good at a game, or if you think you're really funny. I'm neither, but I try it anyway. But yeah, so don't let having goals or not. We've talked about goals many times on this show. Set goals if you want to. If you don't hit them, remember, it's not that important unless you make it that important. And if you can use it to motivate yourself, that's great. But you did talk about one thing where you said, oh, there's days where I don't want to make a video or I don't want to stream. I know I've seen you on stream and you're having a bad run of games and you're like, why do they keep playing this card and like this is no fun and you don't want to be there. How does this shift to making content, does it take the fun out of the games for you? Are you like, no, now I just only play Hearthstone on stream now. I just play Snap on stream now. I know that's not the case necessarily because we just kind of talked about it a little bit, but how much is making this such a consistent part of your life? Does it take the fun out of anything?
And that's funny that you bring that up because I am a naturally very emotional person when it comes to games. I've always been that way. It's kind of a running joke in my family because we're all like that. Like all of the kids from my side of the family and like even all of our cousins and stuff, we're all very competitive. So a lot of that you see come out on stream for me is actually something I've been working on. And I've gotten a lot better. I think if you tune into the last couple of weeks of my streams and watch some of the highlights, you'll see that I really have gotten better. Where even when I'm having a really rad run of games, it's much more like controlled. But that's just like like for me, that's a passion thing. When I get really frustrated like that, it's because I care so much and I just like to win. I've always had that issue where I'm one of the classic, like I know most people will say, well, no one has fun when they lose, and that's just not true. But that's true for me, and that's a struggle that I've had to work on a personal level for a while. So it's a little bit different. To answer your question, I think when you want to do streaming as content creation, you have to accept that some days you're going to have to stream even if you don't feel like streaming. And that can be a struggle sometimes because again, it is your job, right? So even though, like I said, I want to do my job to be something that I enjoy doing and I have fun with, there are days, and we all have days, right? You get up and you're just like, yeah, I don't feel like playing anything. I just want to chill. I just want to do this. Maybe I want to go outside, but I have a schedule. And there's been times where, even Tito knows, there's been times where my streams haven't been as consistent. But the last, I want to say it was probably middle of May, where I looked at my stream numbers and I wasn't happy with them because I had grown so much at the end of last year, beginning of this year, and then I've been very inconsistent for the first 3 or 4 months. And I was like, you know what? Like, I need to accept that just because I'm not having the best day, that doesn't mean I just don't scream. I just don't stream because like you said, I do want it to be a full-time job. But for me, it's not that the game itself takes the fun out of it. It's just, I'm just human, right? I have days where I don't want to play Snap and I don't want to play Hearthstone and I don't want to do this. And, sometimes you have to fight through that. But a lot of the work I've done on myself as far as just having a better mental attitude has helped with that. Where every day when I wake up now, instead of it being like if I'm having kind of like a sluggish day or I'm not feeling like quite myself, I kind of like look at that and be like, well, why are you feeling this way? And I kind of walk myself through it and find out what it is. And usually once I do that and kind of figure out, well, this is why I'm feeling down. This happened the other day with my friend or with my family, and it's got me a little bummed out. That like just knowing what the problem is helps me. But to be perfectly honest, no. I love gaming. I love Snap and Hearthstone and the games of that style. Like I said, any games with like the deck building aspect to them, they just scratch this creative itch for me that it never gets old. And like even there's times where I'm frustrated with like say the meta in Hearthstone or the meta in Snap, I can find things about it to make it fun. And like I said, I'm a competitive person, so if it comes down to it, I just play the meta decks, whatever, just because I want to make sure I'm as competitive as possible. So it's all about having the right mindset. If you want to do full-time content creation, but you go to stream for the second day in a row and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is so annoying. That's probably a bad sign. Like if you're like, if you start trying to do full-time content creation and you just literally have to like, it's like pulling teeth to get yourself the hit the start stream button. That I would say that's maybe a sign that that's not the way you should go. And this full-time streaming is not for everybody. It's totally fine to have streaming be a hobby or something you just do for fun, or because it's something you do enjoy in limited amounts.
Yeah, and I know one thing that I've heard from a lot of streamers that I follow is they're scared to take like a vacation or anything because you
Hmm.
could have a very consistent audience and that's there every night, but you take a week off, that's an opportunity for them to find their new favorite streamer that streams at your time. So
Hmm.
it's not just it's scary. There's a lot of things to factor in there, but and I know I had the opposite problem of not you were talking about how if it's the second day and you don't want to go live, then that's the problem. I need to stream less because I'm not actually diversifying. I have all these other ideas and things that I need to work on. I haven't pushed
Hmm.
forward fight nights. I have some other things I want to work on, but I get down to the end of the night. I'm like, I just want to play video games. And I just push the live
Hmm.
button and I just play for a couple hours when I should be like, no, tonight I'm going to work on this. So, um,
Oh,
it is what it is,
and
but
actually, yeah, actually, I have a little something to add on there. That's actually something I went through too, right? Part of being a full-time content creator is accepting that you're not going to get, like, this is going to sound weird, but I play less games now than I did when I was doing this part-time streaming. And it's because of content creation, right? A lot of the time, like my free time, quote unquote, that I would use before, like, oh well, I'm done streaming. I'm not streaming right now, but I'm gonna get on. I'm gonna play an hour of Battlegrounds. I'm gonna play 2 or 3 games of Battlegrounds, or I'm gonna get on and I'm gonna see how far I can get with this deck on ladder, or I'm gonna get on Marvel Snap. I'm gonna do a gold conquest. That time is now planning videos, editing videos, recording the intros for videos, making the thumbnails, scheduling stuff out. Like I play less video games now to the point where when I do get to stream, it's almost like, oh yes, I finally actually get to play the video game that I've been watching myself play for the last 5 hours. It's kind of this weird, yeah, like I don't know how else to explain it. It's really weird. I play less video games now than when I wasn't a full-time content creator. So I just don't have time. I don't have time to get on and boot up a game. Like I haven't played a new game other than Snap and Hearthstone in so long. It's just hard to find the time to, like, I played Tears of the Kingdom. That's actually the last one. When that came out in May, I played that for like a week straight. And you know what? I barely streamed and I didn't make content that week, and my brand suffered for it. And that's something I've learned the hard way, that I just have to accept. That's one of the sacrifices I think you should be understanding of if you want to make content, is that you're not going to be able to have the free time to do all the things you want to do.
you have any final thoughts for people that are thinking about getting into content creation either as a hobby or as a job?
If you want to do it as a hobby, just do it. That's the first thing I would say. If something, if the other, I guess overall, what I want to say about this is, don't go into streaming thinking, oh, I want to make this a full time. I want this to be a job. I want to be a full time content creator. You need to go into streaming saying, is this something I want to do? Let me find out if this is something I enjoy. And then from there, you can decide how much of a percentage of your life you want it to be. Because full time, like I'll be honest, full time content creation is hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. It takes up a lot of time. You have to make sacrifices in a lot of areas. I can't tell you how many times I've had friends text me in the last 3 or 4 months and been like, hey, you want to come hang out and play? Like I have this buddy of mine who's been asking me to come play Commander with him for like 3 months straight. And I finally texted him just this last week. I was like, dude, I know you think I probably hate you and I'm just blowing you off. I was like, but I literally just have not, I can't. Like I have to, the times that you have available, like I have to get this done, I have to get that done. I was like, please keep asking me. Don't stop asking me because eventually I'm going to be able to make a little bit of time and come hang out. But until then, like just understand that when I say no, it's not because I don't want to hang out with you. It's because I legitimately can't. Because it's just it is a big sacrifice, and you can't go into it thinking, well, this is what I want if you're not sure how much you love it. Because if you don't love doing it, the first time it gets really hard, you're gonna quit. And I've seen it. I can't tell you how many people I've known who were content creators just like me about the same size. They're like, oh, I'm going to go full time. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And they go super hard for like 2 months, realize how hard it actually is. And then, you never hear from them again. Like it's something you need to be sure that you love. Like just think of the automobile analogy I gave earlier. If you can't get into video editing and edit videos for 4 hours and come out of it feeling like you barely did anything and loving it and being super excited about it, it's probably not for you because that's what a lot of it's going to be for the first part. And it's not like you're going to post that video and then suddenly have 6,000 views, 10,000 views, 100,000 views. I've never gotten 100,000 views on a video. I think my highest one is 10,000. So you've got to understand that it's a process, and it's very easy to get discouraged if you don't have that desire to really make it in that field.
And I have an easy solution for you. Just start making Commander content and you're fine.
There you go. That's perfect.
Hey Doc, you got anything you want to ask or add here?
I mean, no, I think the questions you had for Peaceful were everything that I would think of.
Fair enough. Well, that was a lot of information. I am full, but Doc, you know what? I think I have a little time for dessert. What about yourself?
Yeah, dessert sounds pretty good. So listeners, please leave us a review. It really helps out the show with visibility because Apple Podcasts does not do great at pushing out newer shows. So we'd prefer a 5-star review, but please give us an honest review. Let us know what you like about the show, what you dislike about the show, because we want our show to be the best it can for us and our listeners. And that doesn't happen without your feedback. So feedback is appreciated. And Peaceful, where can people find you?
Sure. So you can find me on Twitter. It's PeacefulSea TTV. You can find me on YouTube. It is Peaceful. If you just search PeacefulSea, you'll see a bunch of really serene ocean videos where you can watch the ocean for a little while, for like 8 hours. I don't know why they're so long. But if you want to find me, just type PeacefulSea Marvel Snap and I pop right up on YouTube. And then if you want to find me on Twitch, I'm twitch.tv/PeacefulSea.
Now, listener, I know we all give our socials every week, and hopefully you're following me and Doc or the show by now. And if not, it's fine. But one thing I'd like to ask, if you are listening to the show, we're trying this new initiative here where we are bringing on content creators that are up and coming. And if you enjoyed Peaceful on the show, which I don't know why you wouldn't have, please actually take the minute to go follow them, because that's kind of what we're trying to do, is we're trying to help promote some of these people that are up and coming. And what we need you to do is help them become up and cominger. So give them a follow. Give it, not just follow, but, try to check out their content and see if you like it. Because hopefully we're helping you find some of your new favorite streamers. So Doc, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Doc McButt, and occasionally you can find me on twitch.tv Doc McButt, or twitch.tv/Doc McButt, excuse me. Yeah, that's basically it. Tito, how about yourself?
And you can find me at Tito Santana HS on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Peaceful, do you have any shout outs this week?
Well, I gotta say that and she is no longer a Hearthstone streamer, and she's a very big streamer, so you don't really need to go follow her because a lot of you probably already are. But Nina gave me an awesome raid the other day. I love her. As far as, there's a few people on our team that I just wanted to go ahead and shout out because I've just really enjoyed lurking in their streams the last little bit. Steak, Great Steaktacular. Definitely check him out if y'all haven't. If you love Hearthstone content, he plays a lot more Hearthstone than I do anymore. being Rachel, I think it's really cool to see some of the people on our Hype Horizon team go from being like Rachel was always like really cool, but like as far as a Hearthstone player, she was not, like the most amazing player, but she was fun to watch. She was really sweet. She has really taken her game up a notch. If you want to watch somebody who really goes through a process to get better, if you're like, since this is a podcast about getting better at Hearthstone, I love watching her streams because she will walk through the process live with like through a game. She'll be like, I should have done this. I should have done this. Oh, I wonder if this was better. And it's a really good mentality to have whenever you're trying to get better at a game like Hearthstone, to constantly be looking at how you can get better. So I actually wanted to shout her out since I know that's what this podcast is about.
Absolutely. We love Rachel. Doc, how about you? Any shout outs this week?
Yeah, so first and foremost, as always, thanking our guest, Peaceful. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you.
It was very fun chatting with you. Glad to know that you like Star Wars a lot. Star Wars is not like a new fandom of mine, but a new fandom I'm diving deeper into with like lore and like trying to understand like the Star Wars expanded universe and Abeloth. Yeah, Abeloth and the Gods of Mortis and stuff like that. Like some very, very cool Star Wars celestial stuff.
Yeah, if you don't watch any of the other Clone Wars episodes, go find the Mortis Gods arc and watch it. It's crazy. I still to this day cannot believe it's Star Wars. But anyway, sorry to interrupt. But
yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine.
So
yeah,
cool.
that's on my list. Yeah, so thank you again for being on the show. And then my other shout out this week is gonna go out to my girlfriend's younger brother, Colin. It is his senior year of high school this year, and he just PR'd in cross country again at districts. So far this year, I think he's shaved off about 40 to 45 seconds off of his his 5K time, which is absolutely huge. He's just been killing it, dude. Kid's a stud. He just works really hard. So, I mean, I know he's not going to listen to this because he doesn't play Hearthstone, but I just want to shout him out anyway because kid's just a really hard worker and is passionate about the things he enjoys. So, Colin, your work is noticed and I'm proud of you, bud. Tito, how about yourself?
I also used to do cross country. Don't think I could run that much anymore now, but hopefully get to it. Want to shout out Ron.
Come on, Tito, you can do it.
Yeah, back issues and lots of fat, but we're working on it. We had Ron Mexico on last week. I didn't call him Ron Jeremy once. I was very proud of that, but thank you for being on the show. And we had the show last week to explicitly talk about THL, and I actually had several people reach out to me and say, "Hey, thank you for letting us know about THL. This sounds really exciting, and they're looking to join the league next season." So if it's out there, they have a Hearth Team Hearth League. If you find their website, you can find their Discord. You can join their Discord and get yourself involved. Find yourself a team. It's a lot of fun. And also want to give a shout out to the THL team. We just finished up the season, the Battlegrounds team, which we were talking about before with Peaceful. But we really came together and started to play well. And we've had there are some killer players in that league. It is. When you're going up against Happa and Pokey on the same team, you get your work cut out for you. And we represented really well. And I think that we just have something started for next year. So looking forward to it. But anyway, guys, I think that's it. I think we're toast. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Slide two brothers meet one another when they slide up to the mic. It's bread and butter with one another. Let's start up that recording light.